Well, thanks so much, everybody, for being here and helping us celebrate this incredible event. My name is Saul Solomon. I am the Interim Executive Director here at MDHA, and it's been a real honor for me to serve over these last few months. And it is also an honor just to be here with all of you today. COVID-19 over the past, 15 months has prevented us from gathering together like this. And this is actually the first time we've had an event that's been live in a very long time. And we love these events because we get to see Ralph Perry. And everybody always wants to see Ralph Perry. And so, but even though we all lived through a pandemic, we continued to build during the pandemic, and we're here to celebrate 299 new units that we have built, and there are really three different apartment clusters right behind me. Straight back there is Mosley on 6th, and Mosley has 3 4-story buildings and is home to 96 families of all mixed incomes. Manning Place, across from Mosley, right over there, it's 2 apartment buildings and 13 townhomes on Lenore and South 6th Streets. That was completed last spring and has 101 families, again, all of various incomes. Both of these neighborhoods were built by Hardaway Construction. Thank you so much for that. And designed by Klein Sweeney. Is anybody from Klein Sweeney here today? All right, is it Sweeney or Sweeney?
Sweeney.
Okay. I've asked 3 different people, got 3 different answers. So.
We'll take it any way we can.
Okay. Well, thanks for your work. The amenities there include covered parking, a playground, and other market rate amenities. And the last one is Red Oak Flats, which is behind you right there. It's the multicolored building. It was completed in February of this year. This 4-story building was built by R.G. Anderson and designed by EOA Architects. It features 102 apartments, covered parking, large courtyard, and a playground. So, as many of you know who have been following us, all of these new units and these new buildings are part of what we call our Envision Cayce process, our Envision Cayce plan. And that is one of the most ambitious mixed income projects being undertaken in the country. We are in the process of transforming one of the oldest, if not the oldest, public housing development in Nashville to a vibrant new mixed income community where people of all different incomes will mix together and live in peace and prosperity. We began planning for this Envision Cayce back in 2013. We had a 16-month planning process. The councilman certainly remembers most of this. He's been an incredible contributor to this. And we spent a lot of time with the residents to find out what they wanted. Other stakeholders, our neighbors, spent a lot of time planning. And out of that planning came Envision Cayce, and we're seeing the fruits of that planning right now. So we are committed to this. We're going to see this through, and we couldn't be more excited about it. Now, during a visit, I can't help but notice that, we're sort of amidst the old and the new and the future, right? So right behind us to my left are the old barrack-style Cayce buildings, many of which now have been torn down to make way for the new. And you've seen the new, whether it's Red Oak Flats, whether it's Mosley on 6th, or whether it's Manning Place. And then this over here represents the future. That's going to be our next project we're going to be building in our efforts to continue to build out the south side of Cayce. Can't be more proud of what this team has done, both the MDHA team, and everybody who's been associated. We have just terrific partners. And I want to just thank everybody who's been involved in that. I'm going to start with, there's a little federal agency called HUD that has really helped tremendously. Without them, they would support us when we were public housing. They supported us through the conversion to what we call RAD, and they continue to help provide subsidy to many of our residents. They've been a terrific partner, and Mary Brewer is here today, who has a long history with Nashville and actually with public housing, so it's terrific to have her here. And then, of course, THDA, very deep pockets, and without THDA, we don't have money to do these kind of things. Ralph Perry, as many of you know, is a cheerleader. He's positive, can do. He wants to see things get better, to change, and I can't imagine a better partner. Pinnacle Financial Partners. Pinnacle provides a lot of financing for us as well. Nobody from Pinnacle can be here today because today's Thursday. They count money on Thursdays, I believe, at the bank, so they couldn't be here today. And then, of course, the great Cayce Place residents. I mean, how the patience they have to A, live through construction, B, be patient as we rebuild. Mr. Zerker is here, who has been here right from the beginning, and has been a real supporter. And he had to be convinced, right? And you almost like that best. You like the convert, right, who's skeptical at first, and they come around and say, hey, these people really mean what they say. So really appreciate you being here. Let's see. Councilman, we've already pointed out, Brett Withers, the Board of Commissioners, okay, they've been supportive from day one. We've had a change in commissioners, but throughout the change in process and change in commissioners, they've continued to really support this vision under our new leader, former Mayor Bill Purcell. All of our staff, whether it's Buck Dellinger, whether it's Mike Wegerson, I know I'll leave people out, Jamie Berry. The reason why I took this job on an interim basis was because the staff is so committed to getting this done, and it wasn't easy for me just to slide in and be a cheerleader and help them as much as I can. Klein Sweeney, Hardaway, R.G. Anderson, EOA Architects, again, can't do it without you. And finally, to the continued support of those people on the other side of the river, the mayors who have come and gone, and the mayor who is here today. He is a real supporter of me personally, as well as MDHA, so I'd like to present Mayor John Cooper to you all.
Thank you all. I want to thank my friend Saul for being here and guiding this agency and being the interim. There are a lot of things that Saul could be doing, but his passion for housing and serving the city is very great. And I want to acknowledge that, and some other people who have those same qualities. Councilmember Withers. It's a hard thing to be council district with so much going on. And he's been a great partner for MDHA and for guiding this part of the city. And Councilman Allen, who I think affordable housing, helping the city obtain its greatness. She is there every day. And they both have a great figure in Vice Mayor Schulman, who I drug over here on this side of the river. He's responsible for so many of the good and kind things that happen in Nashville. Now, HUD and Tennessee Housing Department, boy, yes. I also want to say I think Brandon Stover is here from Bill Haggerty's office. If he'd raise his hand right here. Yes, we need help from the Senate from time to time. And Cheryl Mays from Jim Cooper's office is here, an invaluable partner for our city going forward. And let me just thank the MDHA board and its chairman. And what a great city we have to have a former mayor who is also majority leader in the House of Representatives, to have both the passion, the knowledge, and the skill set to help us find our way in housing. Housing was not necessarily in the top 3 list of city issues, but Ralph, wouldn't you agree? It is now, and will be for the decade ahead as we become this remarkable city. And we have a lot to celebrate today. We have a lot to look forward to here at Cayce Place. I mean, we've had a difficult year, but we've learned through the resilience that we can be a city that works and also works for everybody. Now, the original Cayce Homes was finished in 1941, and the city cleared 40 structures to make way for the project and named it in honor of James A. Cayce, then chairman of the Nashville Housing Authority Board. So that's where the name comes from. But today, nearly 800 families live in this community, and they're part of an evolution of affordable housing that is focusing on inclusion and equity, a placemaking approach that promises opportunities for everyone to thrive regardless of their race, color, income, or background. It's quite a vision. It's really pioneering for America, and I think you've got it here in Nashville Ralph, more than any place, and Mary, any place in America. Last year, we finished construction of 3 out of the 5 new developments here at Cayce Place, Mosley on 6th, Manning Place, and the Red Oak Flats. And together, they provide an additional 299 units here at Cayce Place out of 463 new apartments that have been built since 2013. So after a generation of not many new starts, there are beginning to be new starts here in Nashville. And later this month, we're going to break ground on another 96 units. Now, as Saul was pointing out, COVID kept us from celebrating some of those important milestones last year, but we're on the right side of the pandemic. With the vaccine, we're able to gather in person, and so it is time to celebrate our progress for a remarkable national example mixed income community. Now, these beautiful apartments and townhomes come with top-tier amenities. They're going to have the most spectacular views of any of Nashville that you'll be able to find. There are active green spaces. There are courtyards and playgrounds for neighbors to gather and build relationships. And best of all, these homes are for residents of all incomes, families of all sizes, and Nashvillians of all backgrounds. And they're going to include essential frontline workers who keep Nashville running, our first responders, our teachers, and our food service workers. It's a city that works for everyone, and this is going to be a beautiful spot to oversee a transformed city. Like it or not, we are a successful super regional city. That's a very successful format in America, and our problem is to make that format city successful for all of us. There's probably no going back once we accepted being a healthcare capital, once we accepted being a state capital. We've been on a path to being a successful super regional city. But to do that, maybe the biggest challenge is affordable housing. Berkeley, wouldn't you say? It probably is. Okay. So we're planning to more than triple our investment in affordable housing this year. And that's adding $12.5 million to the Barnes Fund, and then to create a $10 million Catalyst Housing Fund to preserve affordable units. We got to preserve as well as build new. And then a $3 million pilot program for buildings and another $2 million towards infrastructure participation agreements. This is kind of finding a tool to help our partners produce affordable housing units. So 2021 is a big year for affordable housing in Nashville. It's the start of hopefully of our learning curve to really begin to address the size of the problem. And it's great that we're able to move immediately on 5 recommendations from the Affordable Housing Task Force, of which the MDHA board members have several prominent members on that board. And we also have a new ECD director here in Nashville, Courtney Pogue. I hope everybody gets to know him, and he's an EC professional, and his mission is to help bring the benefits of our growth to all of our community. And he has decades of experience in Atlanta and Chicago and Dallas. And he knows that affordable housing is essential to a thriving economy. And we need all of that. Our workers depend on it. We're fulfilling our promise to make affordable housing central to everything we do as a city. And with that, let me turn it over to our partner at the state, Ralph Perry, because MDHA is it's a City of Nashville entity, but it is not successful without state and federal participation. And we're thrilled to have such good partners. We need to expand our partnership in the years ahead and to tackle what's a difficult but happy problem, which is when affordable housing is your big problem, it's telling you that your city is very successful. And we're successful because we had big, great figures lead us in the past to where we are today, but we can't, we can't fail them. we can't fail the vision of everybody that went ahead and got Nashville after a couple of hundred years. And I'll just digress slightly, as everybody that knows me, I'm a little bit of a crank on this subject. The very first action, Davidson County was predated Tennessee. It was a county in North Carolina. And North Carolina stopped over in the mountains, and then they had Davidson County here, and Nashville is a county in what we now think of as Tennessee. And the very first act of the formed Davidson County in 1781 was to build a courthouse and a jail on the public square, which is where it is now. So why they needed a jail right away is a little bit of a concern, but that clearly was a community priority. And they had all these office holders, of which Berkeley and Brett and I and Jim have the honor to follow along. But let me tell you what they were paid in. They were paid with bear meat. And the trick was it couldn't have that many bones in it. It was 8 per 100, and you had, I think, extra, a small half a barrel of bear meat was your pay for serving Davidson County in that era. So we've come a long way. And no more beautiful vantage than this hillside down to this city that's still growing and developing from 200 years ago, where its officers were paid in bear meat, to today. And each generation has put its shoulder to the wheel and tackled the problems of that time, and this is the problem of our time, to put our shoulders to the wheel and tackle. So thank you all very much again, and again, thank you for all the leadership, from the board and the chairman to our executive director, to our council members, and to our partners in the federal and the state government. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mayor. All sorts of metaphors come to mind about beautiful weather on a celebration like this. I'm just so delighted to be able to join you. This was a work that truly involved vision. I get around a little bit. There is no city in America that is attempting anything nearly this ambitious to repurpose its public housing. THDA may not have been there at the creation, but we didn't wait long to get in. I seem to recall one of these events announcing our first grant in 2015, and I'm pretty sure I described it as a down payment. And that's what it was. We've since added another $1.7 million in grants and a series of tax credit awards that our friends at Pinnacle Financial Partners have turned into equity investment worth more than $34 million. And the result is what you see. What's been built. This is what we're celebrating today. And I'll tell you why this is important, why it is important that we highlight these things. You know, probably as well as I do or better, that there's still a lot of people who have misconceptions about what affordable housing is, what it looks like, who lives there. Doesn't look anything like what we're building here at Envision, does it? And this is why when we have a success story like the developments in the Envision Cayce projects, that we highlight it, that we celebrate it, that we invite our friends and neighbors to come take a look for themselves, because that is how we get the talk right about affordable housing, and that's what makes it easier for all of us to build more of it. And Mary, you're exactly right. We need to build more of it. I hope you picked up on the fact that I said make it easier for us, because I assure you that all of us at the Tennessee Housing Development Agency intend to remain strong and active partners with MDHA, with the City of Nashville, to make sure that we are meaningfully expanding housing opportunity for Nashville and Metro Davidson County. So congratulations on a wonderful series of projects. I'm delighted to be with you and delighted to be your partner in it. And I think now it is the time for me to gracefully segue to our next speaker, a gentleman who's been an advocate both for Envision Cayce but also for the larger community in which it rests. Please welcome Councilmember Brett Withers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Perry. I had been involved in the community for many years, and when Envision Cayce was kind of kicking off, but was elected in 2015, and that's when we started design work on Kirkpatrick Park apartments. And for me, one of the most important things was to make sure that our Cayce residents came first, and like they were going to decide. We have lots of opinions in East Nashville. We love to argue about stuff, sometimes for just no reason at all. But I wanted to make sure that I really wanted to sit at the table and hear what Cayce residents said that they wanted. And what really struck me is that Cayce residents want the same thing that everyone wants, which is that they want a safe place to live. They want their children to be able to go outside and play, have the grandkids over. They want to spend time outside. They want to. There was a lot of engagement about what park spaces should look like, what the materials would be like, what colors would be like. But you know, what a neat thing to do, to be able to sit with Cayce residents and just listen and make sure that their perspectives were first and foremost. And that's something that I've really focused on during all of this time, because, you know, again, lots of folks in East Nashville have opinions and goodwill, but have opinions about Cayce, but have never really been here. They haven't really spent the time talking to a resident to know what they want. And all of my decisions about Cayce come from Cayce residents. And so I'm really proud of that. But one of the things too about this project, you know, Kirkpatrick Park, we had all that design work with community members, and it's won so many awards, and it keeps winning awards. And that sets such a high bar that even just to meet that, can we do that again? And with each successive project that we've worked on, we've had different community members who've worked on the design work, the engineering work. Each one's a little bit different, but you're starting to see some patterns. I mean, I really like looking down to Dew Street today, and you see people really like this kind of a blue color scheme. And, but the community is really just picking out all the way down to, you know, carpet materials, paint colors, just all those things. Most homeowners even today wouldn't have an ability to custom design their house, even a very expensive house, at that level that Cayce residents have done. And that's just really thrilling for me to oversee. This reconnection of Dew Street in particular, you know, it's not just that from an urban planning standpoint we're reconnecting a street grid that was erased a long time ago. But what I love seeing with all of these projects right along this corridor coming together is that we've created not just a street, but really a crossroads of a whole new neighborhood, and it's really starting to come together. And when this one's constructed, it's going to really begin to feel complete. Even that project, one of the things I really like is that we, as we did with Red Oak Flats back here, and Tracy Ford did a lot of rework on, but we've kind of picked out what are the most important trees in the community, and we have designed around those. One of the things, obviously, when you look at that one, you can see how there's a tree that is sort of the entranceway to the building, and a little bit behind it, there's a play space where kids from Explore School can play under the tree. And way at the north end of this is a very significant and very large tree. And as expensive and valuable as land is, we've set aside a large piece of that land to leave room for that tree and designed around it. And one of the features that I really like about the design for that next project is that there is like a stairwell that has a lot of glass where people can go up and down the stairwell, and it will almost feel like they're in a treehouse. And I just love that creativity that we have in this community with all of the really smart design professionals that we have, but really taking the Cayce residents and saying, what do you want and how can we deliver that? And I think for me, ultimately, that's what it comes down to is this project really demonstrates the importance of saying what you do want. A lot of times in Metro Council, we hear a lot about what people don't want. As a council member in East Nashville, we do a lot of preservation. So a lot of people want to keep things that are already there, like our historic buildings, and that's difficult, but also kind of easy. The hard thing is to figure out what change should look like. But this community has really demonstrated the value of saying, when you say what you do want, everyone can really get behind it. And I just appreciate the state, HUD, and all of the multiple layers of government that have gotten behind our Cayce residents and said, when they drew a picture, we've built it, and we're going to keep building it. So thank you, everyone, for your time. I think I'm going to turn it back over to Director Solomon.
All right, thank you very much, Brett. Great points, all of you. Thank you so much for all of you for speaking and being here and helping us celebrate. Before I introduce my next speaker, I just want to point out that we've been joined by two more guests, John Clement and Jay Strabino from Senator Blackburn's office are also here. So, so pleased to have you both and helping us celebrate this great event. Okay, so who's the next speaker? All right, not to put too much pressure on him, but this is kind of the highlight of the events. Okay, 15 months ago, Melvin Smith moved into Mosley on 6th. If you talk to him just for like 3 nanoseconds, okay, you'll learn that he not only loves his home, he really supports the Envision process. He is a great example of the mixed income model. And so without further comments, I'm going to ask Melvin to say a few words. Come on up, Melvin.
Good morning, and thank you, sir. Over a year ago, I walked into the MDHA main conference room, and there were some drawings laying around of the vision. Of this vision was community housing development. The drawing vision were new apartment complexes, townhomes, people walking around chatting and smiling. After talking with the MDHA staff, I learned that they were creating a mixed community with people with public housing, fair market, and workforce. I want to be a part of this vision. And now here we are today with what someone vision is now called Envision Cayce. I have been in this community for over a year, and I'm glad to be a part of this awesome Envision. Thank you.
All right, I think this is time for ribbon cutting. Is that right? Yes, I'm getting the high sign. Okay, so the ribbon was strategically placed by Jamie Berry down over there. Okay, she scoped out the absolute best spot for the last 3 hours, and this is the one she came up with. So we all need to walk back there. And I'd like to invite Mr. John Zerker, our resident association president from Cayce, Mr. Purcell, our chair, Mary Brewer, Cheryl Mays, and John Clement and Jay Strabino, Braden Stover, Bart Klein of KSA, David Frazier of Hardaway, Craig Johnson of R.G. Anderson, Tracy Ford of EOA. If you all can join me, and all the speakers can join me in the ribbon cutting, and council members. Okay. How silly of me.
Okay, hearing no opposition. Tap on 3. 1, 2, 3.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.org.